Nikki, welcome to After Hours. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. As I say, we've been following each other for a little while now, but I just love your content and I love your story and what you're doing for, women to get into recovery as well. So it's just so kind of life affirming and we'll talk about that in a bit. But so where are you from originally then, Nikki? Because you've got an accent, haven't you?
So, I'm originally from South Africa, and we immigrated to Scotland just over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But like we were just talking about the weather, we've actually decided to move back to South Africa. So that's a big move that is on the horizon.
Yeah. And is that down to the weather then? Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much down to the weather, yeah.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. Obviously, from Glasgow originally, and I love my country, I love my city, and I know the Isle of Man's kind of got similar kind of weather. But if you're used to having really nice hot weather majority of the time, then yeah, Glasgow does the west coast of Scotland. It rains. I remember when I was younger. Well, when I moved to England, my friends were talking about rainy lunchtimes at school, and I was like, "What's a rainy lunchtime?" They were like, "Oh, when it rains, we would all go into the big hall and we'd maybe watch a film or play games." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like we would just be given our big coats and get out in it." So it was a tough childhood I had. Nikki, so tell us about your childhood. Where you grew up and when you had your first drink.
Yeah, so I grew up obviously in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and I had my first drink when I was 17.
Hmm.
So I just remember feeling completely lost and like really uncomfortable in my own skin and really not knowing how to act around other people, like a huge amount of social anxiety.
Hmm.
And I almost felt like they forgot to give me the book on how to do life. Like, how did everybody else around me know what to do or how to interact socially?
Hmm.
So I remember being out at, it was a Italian club. It was like a dance disco that we all used to hang out at, and I had my first drink out in the bushes because we weren't allowed to drink.
Hmm.
And I just remember this feeling coming over me where it just melted away all of those insecurities. And I felt like I had finally found the solution on how to do life. I could interact with other people. I became this bubbly, outgoing person. I became the star of the show, which actually turned out to be the clown of the show, more like.
Hmm.
And yeah, from then on, I just used it as a coping tool, almost like medicine. I didn't like who I was inside, and alcohol helped me to be someone that I thought I was meant to be.
Yeah, yeah. What's the legal age of drinking in South Africa?
It's 18.
It is 18 as well, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's interesting that, and I think, I didn't know what it was at the time, but obviously social anxiety. I was quite a shy kind of kid growing up, teenager, whatever. But like, you're right. It seems like everybody has got it all figured out, but actually, do they? I think there's like maybe one or two in a school year that have got that confidence, that outgoing nature to just kind of get on with it and speak their mind. And but the rest of us are all kind of, I don't know, not maybe not struggling, but just, I don't know whether it's like social constructs that make us feel like we're not able to say certain things. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, oh, like I won't say that because that sounds stupid. But then when you have a drink, you just say whatever, and it's okay to say that stuff. It's not. No one's laughing at you, or they're not. They're kind of laughing with you or whatnot. And it's, yeah. But alcohol, you're right. It does have that kind of ability to make us open up, loosen up. But actually, I think if we just wait a bit longer, then as we get into adulthood, we get our confidence, and that's what I think with me, essentially, when I got sober at 40, I was like, okay, do you know what? I am quite a confident person, but I was always kind of masking it with alcohol. And I just got so used to having this social lubricant that I thought, well, why should I bother trying it without it? Is that kind of how it
Yeah.
was with you then? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was with me as well. And I think just not being comfortable and confident in my own skin, I didn't really know like who am I? Like who was I? And I also felt like I was carrying this emptiness inside,
Hmm.
and alcohol almost filled that hole for me for a couple hours. Then of course the massive consequences came back later on, but yeah, as I've come into sobriety and I've learned to work on the inner stuff, like
Hmm.
the my nervous system, my confidence, feeling comfortable in my own skin. And I do think it also comes with age, where eventually you just don't actually give a damn what other people think about you anymore,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Whereas whereas before I used to obsess about things like, oh my gosh, what do they think of me? Or oh my gosh, why aren't they answering my WhatsApp when
Yeah.
after 5 minutes?
Am I am
What
I
have I
wearing the
done?
right am I wearing the right clothes? Am I watching the right films? Am I reading the right books? Is my hair do you know what I mean? All these things, especially when you're a teenager. And then I suppose in your 20s as well, because we live in a society where everything is kind of, trending or fashionable, and you don't want to be the kind of, left out in the cold type thing. So it's, yeah. So how was kind of, so you were 17, were you still at school at that point, and then did you go to university, and what was your working life like?
Yeah, so at 17 I was still at school, and
Hmm.
then after school I went to university, and that was just diabolical because I went to study veterinary nursing. So the nurses and the vets all sort of lived in res together,
Hmm.
and there was a massive drinking culture. So we used to take the horse drip bags, so like the 5 liter drip bags,
Oh,
and we
right,
used to,
right.
we used to fill them with vodka and orange, and
Yeah.
then we would take the drips and we'd sip on them, like tie them around our necks and sip on that as a vodka and orange, and it was absolute chaos. But during university was the first time that I had this moment where, let me explain the moment and I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
So it was the first time I felt accepted, and it was the first time I said to myself, oh wow, look, you're accepted because you're actually good at something. But the something that I got accepted with was I got accepted into the drinking club.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Not
was the
not like
first.
Yeah,
Oh,
not like who you are as a person, or
no.
you're good at this, or you're in a sports team, or you're good at veterinary nursing, or it's no, you're good at drinking. We're accepting you for that. But you feel elated, I'm sure. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It's like the first time I felt, okay, yay, I'm accepted, I'm finally good at something. And I was the first girl to be accepted into the vet's drinking club. So this was like a big badge of honor to wear.
Yeah, yeah. And so what was that like drinking wise? Was that keeping up with the guys drinking pints, or what were your habits like? What was your tipple?
Yeah, no, it was anything and everything. It was just absolute carnage. I
Yeah.
mean, we used to have these parties in the res, and we used to have parties in the digs, where we were staying or where friends were staying. Um, yeah, I mean, I broke my kneecap once.
Oh,
I was, I was on the dance floor, and the dance floor was all sticky where drinks had
yeah.
obviously been dropped, and I was doing some kind of a funny move, and my foot got stuck, and my kneecap popped out to the side.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but it didn't stop me. It didn't stop me. I
Yeah.
mean, I still carried on and had to go into hospital obviously the next day, and they wouldn't operate on me because I stank so badly of booze.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the
So you
pattern.
continued on dancing or drinking, at least you were probably sat down after that happened, but like you still kind of ploughed on through until the next day, really. So
No, I mean, I carried on for a little bit, and then my friends had to take me, and I
yeah,
had to go home. But
yeah.
yeah, I
But it's
called
but
my
it's
mum.
think Yeah, well, that's the thing. We would think that that would be like a red flag for us. I mean, I've had so many different injuries and things, but you just put it down to like, oh yeah, that was a silly thing, or it's a story for the annals of drinking stories and all that. And yeah, but it's like a badge of honor, but it's not cool. But I'm
No.
guessing that well, obviously that you said that didn't learn you your lesson. So how were you doing at uni? Was that okay? Were you still doing the classes, the lectures and
Yeah,
coursework?
yeah.
Yeah.
So what we would do is when we were majorly hungover, we used to hook each other up onto IV drips.
Okay. I mean, me and my buddies at college and uni, we'd go for a couple of shots at, kind of break time or something at the union, but you guys were hooking yourselves up to like a cannular drip. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we used to put put each other onto saline drips with a vitamin B solution inside, and in a couple of hours we was right as rain. Off we
Ready
went
to
to the next.
ready to get back on it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And then
Insanity.
yeah, well, I mean, it's the things we did, and was this like in the, and I don't want to guess your age, but kind of the late '90s, early noughties, or later than that, was it when you were?
Um, no, that's 2001. I think I graduated from veterinary nursing school.
Yeah, so like late '90s and that
Hmm.
was, I don't know what it was like in South Africa, but over here there was a massive drinking culture just in the media, in the music, everything we were listening to. It was booze, it was drugs, and
Hmm.
yeah, like if you weren't out partying, then you were a square. You were a
Yeah.
dud. You weren't really part of anything. So we just kind of all fell into that. Yeah, I'm sure there were people that were sober and not drinking, but I didn't know them. I didn't associate with them. Like if they told me they were a drinker, I'd be like, well, what am I
What's
going to
wrong
talk
with
to you
you?
about? Yeah, like I know, and it's so bizarre because I have now this stance where I'm kind of like, I don't really like booze at all now. I'm really, really against it, and it's
Hmm.
like, but I'm trying to show people that there is another life out there. So yeah, but how did your drinking kind of? Did you get a job in veterinary nursing then, and kind of?
No, so I didn't. When I so the whole reason I did veterinary nursing was because I didn't get accepted into veterinary. So my
Right.
plan my plan was to do veterinary nursing, and I actually did really, really well at it, and
Mhm.
I did get accepted into veterinary. But in between finishing my nursing and starting the veterinary course, I went to Mozambique for the summer holidays to go and look after the
Mhm.
horses on the beach and to do the horse riding for them on the beach.
Nice.
And that is where I met my now husband.
Mhm.
He was my diving instructor.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah. So I never ended up leaving Mozambique and going
Okay.
to
Okay.
start
So you
my
just stayed,
veterinary
fell in
course.
love and stayed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
So yeah, my hubby and I ended up building our own dive center, scuba diving center in Mozambique, and we
Mhm.
ran that together for 12 years.
Wow. And I'm guessing you get probably a lot of backpackers and things like that through Mozambique, and diving's definitely on the tick list for backpackers and stuff. So I bet it was a thriving business, but partying quite a bit as well with that. Yeah,
Yes, a
yeah.
lot of backpackers, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, a
Mhm.
lot of partying involved, like a crazy, crazy amount. So yeah, it was okay until it wasn't okay, until it was
Mhm.
starting to really interfere with me getting to work, with just life in general. It was just one big party that I never wanted it to end. I never wanted to come back to reality. That was really hard for me.
Mhm. Well, you're
Um,
kind of your own boss and you've got your own business, so you're successful and it's doing well. And it's like, but if you're like that whole mentality, work hard, play hard, so you deserve it. And was your husband kind of is he a drinker? Was he a drinker as well, or?
Yeah, so I mean, he would party, but he knew when to stop. You know,
Yeah,
he knew when enough was enough, where I would carry on until I fell down, or blacked out, or
yeah,
reigned in some kind of chaos.
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Because my wife, she didn't know me when I was in my drinking days, but she'll go out with the girls and she'll have a few. I've never seen her drunk. Like, she said she's drunk, and I'm like, you're really not, But it's like, how can they in this day and age? How are they not finding that gene that we might have had that others don't have? Where they know where there's a line, and then they can just stop and go, right. I've had enough, and that's
Uh,
them for the night. But it's like, for me, yeah, literally drink until pass out, or if I didn't pass out, it was blackout, and then God knows how I got home, or if I got home, if I didn't end up in some random's party, after party and whatnot. It's
exactly.
so dangerous. But yeah, they must be researching it and finding out why. So, and the thing is, right, with me, it's like, it is a drug. So the more you take of a certain drug, you're gonna get addicted at some level. There's people that I know that wouldn't think they've got a problem, but if you try and said to them, like, give up for a month or 2 months or 3 months, they probably wouldn't be able to do that. And it's because they might not have this negative impact on their life, but because their body's used to having that. Like, for example, there's a girl I knew, she would only have a bottle of Prosecco, and she was only little. She'd have a bottle of Prosecco every Friday night and then not drink the rest of the week. But if for some reason she was maybe busy or doing something else and she wouldn't be getting that bottle of Prosecco, she started getting a little bit, jittery and angsty, and like, because her body knew that that's what it was supposed to be getting, because you've got a kind of, even in a small way, a dependent on it. So yeah, but then there are just people that can just, obviously, like your husband, like Jen, my wife, that can just
Yeah, I don't,
not
I
have
don't
it.
get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it. It's
It's
crazy.
it's like it's the most anxiety inducing thing for me to watch someone nurse a glass of wine over like a 2 hour period. Like I cannot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you're doing rounds, and I would go, "Right, I'll get these in," and I would go up to the bar, and I'd probably get like a couple of shots in while I was up there, because everyone was drinking really slowly. And then it was like, right, I'll just, because I'm on the shorts now, so you guys stay on the pints, and I'll just get my own, because they were just, yeah, just painfully slow. And all my decorum had gone out the window by that point. So did you kind of, at this point, you probably weren't still drinking because of anxiety. I mean, when you were sober during the day, did you still feel that crushing anxiety, or as you
Yeah,
were
I
getting
just
older,
I,
did you get
I
better with
just
that?
I just had this feeling of feeling lost. Like I was always lost. Like where am I going? What am I doing? What is my purpose?
Right.
Never feeling fulfilled on the inside. I mean, when we lived in Mozambique and my husband, well, my boyfriend at the time, or fiance, whatever, we got
Yeah.
married, and then we had our kids, and and everything on the outside was like perfect. We lived in this beautiful house right on the beach. We
Yeah.
had this highly successful dive center. I had beautiful children. Like everything was picture perfect, but inside I felt like I was still dying. Like what was wrong with me?
Hmm.
And it's like I had this hole in my soul, and no matter what was going on around me or how good it was, I just couldn't fill this hole. And so I turned to, or carried on using alcohol and drugs to try and fill this hole up inside.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously, actually, the more that I used and the more that I drank, the more it was chipping away at this hole inside,
Of course.
until eventually you can't even consume enough of anything to try and fill what was happening on the inside.
Hmm.
So I think it's only when I really started looking at ways to find that inner happiness and that inner peace that I got alcohol to lose its grip on me. Otherwise, I fear to think what would have happened.
Yeah. And like, so what were your drinking habits like through your kind of 20s? And how long have you been sober now then?
In March, I'll be 4 years.
Wow, right, brilliant.
Yeah.
So still quite a while to go. But were you drinking daily, or were you kind of, yeah,
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 yeah.
I drank every day. Like I could probably string a few days together, but it was brutal.
Uh-huh. And did you
Um,
have any kind of rules set up, like I won't start drinking until after work, or yeah?
yeah,
So you were
yeah,
doing that, like get the kids to bed or whatever with that, then and then
yeah.
start drinking. Yeah, yeah.
Or I'd only have like wine and soda, or I'll only drink at 6 o'clock, or I'll only drink on a Friday. That's never ever happened. Or, all those kind of rules. Then trying to
Hmm.
change the drink to a lighter version, and everything under the sun that I could think of to try and moderate my drinking, I tried, and nothing
And did
worked.
did your husband or anyone kind of say to you like you're maybe drinking too much, or were you kind of on the surface just functioning fine, so no one was really aware of it, or not aware of it, but thinking, well, it's not a problem, or was it a problem then?
Yeah, I think I was a really good actor in my own show.
Hmm.
I put on all the different masks so that because I was ashamed and I was embarrassed, I was a mother and I didn't want people to see what was actually going on underneath.
Hmm.
Obviously, my immediate family behind closed doors, they knew exactly what was going on. And I mean, eventually it got so bad that I booked myself into rehab in 2014.
Hmm.
Like I just knew, I wasn't turning up as the mother I wanted to be. I wasn't turning up for work, and I was in a dark, dark place, a really dark place. And I really scared myself, and I thought the rock bottom that I hit before I went into rehab was gonna sort me out and scare me enough to stay sober. But no, that was just the beginning of my journey.
And were you still in Mozambique when you went into rehab, or where were you at this?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you
So I
still had
had,
to go to school, and then you thought, I need to check myself in here. Yeah.
yeah, I knew like if something didn't change, there was going to be serious, dire consequences. So I had to fly. I had to fly from Mozambique to Johannesburg because that's where I
Hmm.
went to rehab. So I missed the flight 3 times.
From drinking, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I need to just get in one last party,
Of course, that's what we do. I mean, I went to rehab and I was drinking a bottle of vodka in the taxi, and I think the taxi journey was about 2.5 hours. And then when I got there, it was like I still had a bottle of wine that I was drinking, and I said to them, this was during COVID. Well, wasn't quite COVID yet. I think it was 2 days after, but there was still. Anyway, they said to me, I said, "Oh, can I finish this in here?" And they were like, "No, this is rehab. Like, what are you on about?" And I was like, "Well, can I finish it out in the street and then come in?" And they were like, "Yeah, go on then." So I did that, and then went in. Sorry, you carry on with yours. So you missed two, 3 flights, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually I got there. So I booked myself into rehab, and I originally booked in for 4 weeks because I thought, I'm not that bad. 4 weeks is
Yeah.
gonna sort me out. And then I ended up staying for 6 weeks.
Right.
So I didn't see my kids. I didn't see my hubby for 6 weeks because they were still in Mozambique.
Sure.
But I worked hard. I worked hard at it, and I came out and carried on with my sobriety and working on all the things that I should be working on.
Hmm.
And I felt really good. And about 2 years in, I thought to myself, ugh, I'm okay. I don't need any more help. I've got this. I haven't drank for 2 years. I
Hmm.
took back my self-will and thought that I could do it on my own.
Yeah.
And also the thought of going to that place I was in, that rock bottom that I hit before I went to rehab, it absolutely terrified me. And so for the next 3 years, I basically white knuckled it and it was hell. It was hell on earth because all the normal stuff that was still there, well, not normal, but like the resentments, the anger, the fear, that empty feeling I was carrying inside,
Hmm.
all started rearing its ugly head again, and I didn't have anything to numb it with. So it was hell, honestly, and I lost the plot at the end, and I eventually lifted a drink again after 5 years.
5 years, wow. And was the rehab, and then your 2 years, was that kind of fellowship based, like AA kind of recovery?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So after the 2 years, you kind of stopped going to meetings and thought, right, I've got this, I can do this, right? That's interesting, yeah. And then I suppose the 3 years was kind of almost like dry drunk, I guess, because you've still got all these
Exactly.
things in your head, and yeah, that sounds horrible. And I
Hellish.
guess like you've been drinking to fill that hole in your soul, as you said. Then you've
Hmm.
got sober, and I guess those 3 years were just even worse because you're thinking, well, what am I even doing? Like, like I've got sober, and now I'm still feeling like horrendous. So yeah,
Yeah, it was really a nightmare. It was a massive eye opener for me, and like looking back now, I believe I had to go through that to understand that sobriety is not just about putting down the drink, you know. Putting down the drink is really just the first step. It's what's got to come from underneath that is the really important part in order to live a life that is where we have that serenity and happiness and
mhm.
that peaceful feeling inside. So, looking back now, I'm grateful, but at the time, I certainly was not
God,
grateful.
no. And how was your kind of, I mean, those 2 years, that was probably quite good, the first 2 years of
Mhm.
sobriety, like, but how was your family life after that? I mean, obviously your kids were getting older, and your kind of married life, was that putting a strain on that? Because it sounds like you were probably quite depressed, if, at the least of things, not to mention all the other
Very,
stuff going on.
very angry, very volatile, very happy one moment, sad the next moment, and like I didn't know what was going on. I just thought, well, I have to stay sober. This is what sobriety must be like. And it was, yeah, just I was all over the place. They didn't know what they were getting from one day to the next. My emotions were an absolute wreck, and I was like a child, really.
Yeah, not able to maintain a, happy existence, or, like, yeah, it must have been horrendous, not just for you, but for them as well. And
Hmm.
what was the catalyst, sorry, that made you pick up again after those well, 5 years?
Yeah, after 5 years, I think it was just I'd reached the end of
Yeah,
my tether. I just could
yeah,
not take that feeling inside anymore, that anger, the raw emotions that were welling up in me every 5 minutes, and I just needed that relief. I wanted to turn it all off. Trying to hang on to the edge of my sobriety by a shoestring for those 3 years was I'd had enough.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you just thought, did you think like, I'll just have one and then I'll be okay? Or did you think I'm going to go back to it stronger than ever? Or did you just think it's just going to be the one? I'll take the edge off and then I'll get back on my sobriety.
Yeah, I mean, I thought to myself, well, I've done this on my own for 3 years. Surely my drinking wasn't that bad, or my addiction wasn't that bad. I'm sure this time is going to be different. I'm sure this time I can just have a few, and within a few weeks, it was worse than when I went into rehab.
Yeah. I mean, the real, like, I never went a stretch of 5 years apart from now, but like, if I do like 2 weeks, or I think I'd even done, well, I did close to 90 days one time. And yeah, like as soon as I went back to it, it was so much worse than before. It just grips you again, and that's what we try and tell people. Like, you relapse is part of recovery, but once you go back, it doesn't get easier, it doesn't get better, it
No,
only gets worse. So
no, there's no one that's gone out again and said, "Wow, I'm really glad I went out."
exactly, yeah, yeah. Like, I've got it mastered now. I know how to drink properly. It's like,
Yeah.
like, no, we've ruined that part. It's that whole, what is it? You can't turn a pickle back into a cucumber. But yeah, so what was that like? Because you didn't just do it for a while. Then it sounds like you were back. That would have been probably the start of COVID, I'm guessing, with the years just before that.
Yeah, so a little bit before that,
Yeah,
just trying to think. So probably about it was two because I left rehab in 2014. So
Yeah.
2019, I lifted a drink again.
Right. Right.
And yeah, I was drinking again for some time, and then it just had me again, back to the awful consequences, not getting up in the mornings, not being able to take my kids to school, and just all that shame and guilt, and not showing up as I wanted to. And in the back of my mind, still having that rock bottom that I'd reached before rehab,
Hmm.
still having it there, knowing that I knew I was heading in a similar direction. So I got myself back into the fellowship,
Hmm.
and I got 8 months of sobriety.
Hmm.
Then stopped going to meetings again because I started feeling better and thought that I've got this. The
Yeah.
self will is just
Oh,
incredible, hey?
we know best, don't we? We know
Oh
best.
man. I am not surrendering to this. I know what I'm doing here.
I know what I'm doing. Like I've done it, and it's like, no, you've clearly proved you can't do it. So why are you trying it again? Yeah, yeah,
No, insane. Insane.
and absolutely. Well, that's it. It's the madness of it, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah.
So then
So
yeah. Go on. Sorry.
so I had 8 months, and then yeah, lifted a drink again, and again back to worse than it was, as if it could get any worse. It was day in, day out. The drinking was starting earlier and earlier, especially on the weekends. I would start at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
So took myself back to the fellowship, and yeah, then things were going well. I was working hard, working a program, and then we immigrated to Scotland,
Hmm.
and I completely moved away from my home group, my fellowship, the people that I knew. But I was feeling good, so I wasn't worried about it. And I said to myself, if I can immigrate with 3 kids, 2 cats, buy a house, get them
Yeah.
settled into school, and not think about lifting a drink, then I must be cured.
Yeah. 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 And did you do you still go to meetings in Glasgow or in Dunoon
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
here
area?
in Dunoon, we've got
Yeah.
meetings. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. And how are they?
Small, our meetings are very small because we live in
Right.
a little village.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love my Friday meeting every week.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, and I don't go anymore over here, but I keep myself steeped in the recovery world. But when I first started meetings over here, like drugs were never a major problem for me. But I went to NA, CA. There was an AA group, but I just didn't. It wasn't my tribe, if you know what I mean. So I went to the NA, and it was just great. When we started, I think there was like four of us, including me. So it was
Okay.
tiny. But by the time I left, it was it was about 12 or 13 of us, so tiny
Oh.
compared to other people I've spoken to. Like I spoke to a
Mhm.
guy he was from Montreal or Quebec, one of the Canadian cities. He hate me for getting that wrong, but he said there's literally hundreds in his home group, and that's one of many different home groups in the city. And I've spoken to a friend of mine from Glasgow, and he said, like, he doesn't go anymore, but he went to one, and it was just really like a lot of 13 steppers, people trying to sell you stuff out in the car
Oh
park,
no.
and just like really, really a bad vibe. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, like I'm so glad I'm not in. Like I went to one when I lived in Hull, and there was about 50 or 60 people in that group, and it was very similar. It was very like doer and really, really, I didn't come out of that buzzing like I did the ones over here. But it sounds like you've got a
Uh-huh.
really good one with, because I think once they get too big, there should be a. I'm not trying to say like oh, there's too many, you can't come in. Of course, they can't stop people, but it's time to kind of maybe set up another one, because how is everyone getting listened to and sharing when
No,
there's like
it's too
hundreds of
much.
people? Far too much. Yeah.
That would freak me out if I walked into a room with 50 other people. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
No.
Especially if you're like my first meeting over here. I don't think I said boo to a goose. I was just
No.
feeling like I was only a few days sober. I was feeling rough as, and just all the shame and guilt and everything. But after a couple of weeks, like, you couldn't shut me up, because I felt comfortable. I was in my, I'm still really good friends with a lot of the guys and the women from the meetings as well. But it got to a year, and we had a bit of I think they called it circuit breakers to do with the lockdown, and
Okay.
we couldn't get in the room because of COVID. So we took the meeting out into the park, and I was always like, oh, if I can't get to a meeting, am I going to relapse? And that really scared me, so much so that I was like, well, I'm going to try and move on to like phase two of my recovery. And like, I know the meetings are there if I need them. I'm still going to do
Mm-hmm.
my, like, I still continued and finished my 12 steps, and I got a sponsor across, and I did all that, but I just didn't go into the rooms as much
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
still did smart for a while. But it's kind of, everyone's individual, and I'm so glad that you've kind of
Absolutely.
got back into them
Mm-hmm.
up there. So yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
I
and
love the
it,
meetings for the community aspect.
yeah, yeah,
Like I do a lot of my own work that I feel now this time in sobriety has been like the missing link for me. A lot of the nervous system work. I've learned that I've got a really, really sensitive nervous system, and I was basically living my entire life in fight or flight mode.
hmm
So working on regulating my nervous system so that I feel like I'm not spiraling all the time has been a massive turning point in my sobriety.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, and what's your company called, and what is it that you offer people? Tell us a bit about that, the nervous system and that, because it's really interesting. I've not delved into it fully myself, but it'd be interesting to hear about it.
Yeah, I think it's just everything that I felt like what that was missing from the inside for me when I spoke about when you asked me when I had my first drink and I spoke
hmm
about how I had this empty feeling inside. I feel that from a very young age I wasn't able to process my emotions, and it's not because I was brought up in a house where anything was bad or anything was wrong. I
hmm
just think emotions weren't really spoken about when we were growing up. I remember my mom saying to me, just put a smile on your doll. Like anytime I used to try and express how I was feeling, like mom, I feel sad, or mom, I feel this, she would just put a smile on your doll, and just carry on. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
from a young age, I learned to suppress those emotions. So anytime any kind of emotions did arise, they were very overwhelming, and I would just reach for a drink to numb them.
hmm
Um,
it's a quick fix, isn't it, to do that? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So just an off switch, just turn it off. I can't bear the feeling of any kind of emotion that used to run through my body. So
hmm
from a young age, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to process any of those emotions. And I know that I was a very anxious child. Like anxiety was high for me, but I didn't know that it was anxiety. I didn't know how to express that. So carrying on through my adult life, I lived with that anxiety, but also the fact that I was just running through my day from next one task to the next task, making sure everybody else around me was happy, but never
hmm
making sure that I was okay. Like self care and self love was an absolute foreign concept to me. No,
hmm
when I came into sobriety this time around, it's been the number one priority that I do. Like I have to come first. If I'm not feeling on the good, if I'm not feeling good on the inside, everything around me is going to fall apart. And I think that has been one of the turning points, like a massive step forward for me, making sure that I am happy and filled up on the inside, because that will just overflow into every other area of my life, and it does.
hmm hmm No, I mean, like when I was in rehab, they said, "Oh, you've got to do this for yourself and no one else, and you've got to get sober for yourself." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I wasn't. I was getting sober for other reasons at the time, and it didn't work. And then when I did get sober for myself, that's when it stuck. And that's the thing. And they
Exactly.
say it's like the last selfish thing that you will do is getting sober, and then you can start building the rest of your life around that. But it's you've
Uh-huh.
just got to do this one thing, and it's crazy. So the nervous system thing, did you kind of study that, and then um, get any qualifications in that to now do the business with it?
So
Is that your
no,
full time business? No.
yeah. So I coach women. I'm a sober coach, and
Yeah, yeah,
my main focus is on helping women learn to regulate their nervous systems.
sure.
So going throughout the day, and we learn gentle tools like breathing tools, grounding tools, so that we not just waiting until 4 or 5 p.m. to finally exhale.
Yeah,
We building up that regulation throughout the day where we stop and check in with ourselves, so that by time 4 to 5 p.m. comes, you're not spiraling. And that's how we get alcohol to lose its grip, because you're not spiraling out of control at 4 or 5 p.m. You don't feel this crazy pull to alcohol to just give you that instant off switch.
yeah, yeah. It's so true, and I think even when I was doing NA and the fellowship stuff, I was like, wow, these like all of these kind of um, things that they're teaching us and suggesting to us, like you don't have to have a problem or negative impact with alcohol or drugs to be using these in your life, like what you're saying there. Like I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, of women out there that are not having a problem with alcohol, but they're still doing the same thing. Like they're kind of screwing everything up all day, like twisting it up, and then getting home and then just maybe taking it out on their kids or their husband or whatever, rather than kind of regulating it and touching base through the day to kind of just ground themselves and get themselves back to normality. Whereas because like I see it with my wife as well, and she's great as a mother, but like I can tell she's juggling a lot of things because they're not my children, they're my stepchildren, but she is juggling a lot of things all day, like working out where they're going to go here, and they stay with their dad, and all of this stuff, and I'm trying to help her, but I can see sometimes that it's a stressful job in itself, doing being a mother and having a full-time job. But as I say, she doesn't turn to alcohol, and I'm not saying that she's super stressed or anything like that, but I can see how easy it is for people to pick up a drink for to just get that instant gratification at the end of the day. And
Yeah,
this is the thing with the podcast, because I don't want to have people that were as bad as myself or as bad as you, that were just drinking, drinking, drinking. If it's causing a negative impact in your life, then it's time to knock it on the head. And
exactly.
I think a lot more people, especially like my age or your age, they're starting to realize that the party has to kind of end at some point, and it's bringing no joy to your life. So why do we still do it? You know?
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely a waking up around alcohol, that is for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
even the youth now, like there's a lot of these sober clubs or sober bars that are opening up in Glasgow. So there's
Wow.
definitely a lot more awareness and a wake up around what alcohol's actually doing to society, I think.
Yeah. Scotland are really kind of um, they are tackling it, because I remember I lived in Cambridge, and I remember one of my colleagues came in one morning and she went, this was maybe 2005, six, something like that, and she came in and she said, "Oh, I watched this documentary last night, and it said that you know life expectancy in Scotland, and in particularly Glasgow, was worse than some third world countries." And I was like, "Oh." And it was like there was the death rate in Glasgow was just ridiculous, like the mortality rate compared to other European cities. And it was, I think it was like something like people were expecting to live to like 55 or 60. And it's like in a
Because of
Western
alcohol.
civilized country, that's how bad it was. So Scotland, obviously, because of alcohol,
Wow.
because of smoking, because of really fatty foods and diet. Just it was. I mean, the alcohol was obviously the worst one at the top. But if you start drinking, you're going to smoke because your inhibitions are down. You're going to eat crap and all that. But then the Scottish health board came in and really the government helped. And obviously there's still issues up there, but it's so much better. I mean, it's back to a normal kind of life expectancy up there because they're doing things like that. They're also, I think Scotland has quite a number of government provided rehab centres as well. And now they're doing that thing with the like the safe place for people to take drugs. I think the day it opened earlier this year, they had, I think it was something like 40% of the people coming in to use their drugs safely were inquiring about rehabilitation and recovery and getting clean, which is astounding. Whereas in some places in England, they're just turning people away because they don't have the money or they're not seeing this as a major issue. It's like we need to tackle this head on because people are dying, people are getting unhealthy. Alcohol causes 7 types of cancers and all of these things that are not being told to people.
No, I know.
It's
That's
really
the
sad.
scary part. I mean, I had no idea what alcohol actually does to your body. No
No,
idea.
no, same. I just
No.
thought, like, I smoked, and I thought, oh, I'll give up smoking, and I've given up smoking, but it was like, oh, I'll give up smoking before it's going to cause me issues, and touch wood, hopefully I have done. But alcohol, I just thought it's just alcohol.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm in my 60s or 70s, I'm going to get cirrhosis of the liver, but I'll be an old man then anyway. Oh God, there's people in their 30s. In fact, I knew a girl from rehab, and she sadly died in May this year. She was only in her
Oh.
30s. And she got cirrhosis, and when I was in rehab with her, she was jaundiced, she was yellow, and we had to put her in a wheelchair because the nerve endings in her feet were just shot.
Oh
She
man.
got sober and she came out, but she was lying to us all. Like I didn't keep in touch with her that often, but every time I did, she was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm good." And then obviously she wasn't, and she was just drinking,
Oh,
drinking, drinking, and it killed her. Yeah,
shame, man.
it's a
Yeah, it's
horrible,
awful.
horrible thing.
It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
is.
But like I say on the podcast, like I think it is time for the governments to start putting labels on bottles. Like I'm not saying we're going to go to prohibition time and stop people drinking, but at least if people know the dangers,
Yeah, I mean,
it'll
they put it on
definitely
cigarette boxes.
exactly, exactly. But that took a while as well. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember when I
yeah.
started smoking, it wasn't on the
No.
packets. It wasn't. And then you would look at the packets and go, oh my God, this is a horrible one. But you just didn't care and you'd spark up. But you knew, at least we were aware of the dangers. But, you
The
know,
seed was planted.
the seed was planted, and definitely I think the more and more people that know that alcohol's really not safe, even the government give you these kind of drink safe levels of drinking, they're not safe. No level of drinking is safe.
No.
It's doing you damage no matter what. And also, alcohol it kind of changes your personality. It makes you into a bit of like a clown, as you said, and but I think a lot of people are using it as a social lubricant because of anxiety and because they're so used to drinking. They would find it ridiculously hard to go out and socialize without alcohol, and
Yes,
that's a
absolutely.
sad state of affairs. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
a lot of the women I work with, a lot of them use it for social anxiety because they feel so socially awkward, or a lot of women use it for that instant off switch at the end of the day, when you've carried all that overwhelm and stress and anxiety through the day, and then you get to 4 or 5 p.m. and you take that glass and it's just that instant off switch. But unfortunately, it doesn't stop there, it doesn't. Once that switch is flipped, it's just game on.
game on. And then it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'll deal with tomorrow when it comes, and then you'll probably be hungover and have like maybe 4 crappy hours at work, but by after lunch you're starting to feel a bit better, and
Uh-huh.
you're like, oh, yeah, I'll have a few drinks tonight to just settle it out. I mean, I was the worst because towards the end it was morning drinking. It was first thing in the morning because I knew that was. I mean, obviously I was going into withdrawal at that point, so that was the only thing that would make me feel better, and that's how bad it got, and it was. I'd need to drink a certain amount of vodka before I could even function, and from the
Uh-huh.
outset you wouldn't even know I was drunk. And I wasn't drunk, but I needed like at least a half liter of vodka to settle me. And then I could do things like have some food or walk up to the shop to get more booze. And it was just, and that's where it leads. But That's not the glamorous kind of vision that they put on all the adverts and things like that. And it's like,
No,
why is it still being advertised? I
I
mean, I'm
know.
sure up in Glasgow, you go into your supermarkets and it's floor to ceiling booze boxes
Oh
and
yeah,
all of this.
all pretty and glamorous, and you're really missing out if you're not having one of these, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard this old couple yesterday, in fact, and they were saying, "Oh, I see that they've put Bailey's up again or something." And she said, "Oh, it was £10 the other day, and now it's £14." So they probably do that. They probably like put it as £10 at the beginning in December, and then steadily it goes up because people will go in and they'll buy their bottle of Bailey's for Christmas, but they'll probably have drank it by now, and then it's like, oh, it's £14, and then it's £18. So yeah,
Makes
it's
me
it's
mad.
absolutely. Oh, it makes me mad. But all we can do is keep banging the drum, Nikki. So, do
Mm.
people? Do you do your sober coaching online, or is it in person, or a bit of both?
I do it online.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
where can people find you online? What's the name of your website and your Instagram? I'll put it all.
so
I'll put all your details in the show notes as well.
okay, perfect. So it's Mommy is Sober, my Instagram
Nice.
handle. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. And then your webs. Have you got a web? You've got a website, haven't you? What's that?
So on my Instagram handle, my website is there in my bio as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any recommendations of like a podcast, book, or a film with to do with recovery?
I like the Naked Mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a good book.
I love
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, that's
Yes.
good.
Um, yeah, I'm more an in-person kind of person than
Yeah.
podcasts and books and stuff. A really good book that I've actually just read is called The Surrender Experiments. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't. No,
Yeah.
no. Right. What's
It's
that?
really good. It's all
Is it like how?
about it's all about learning to live in surrender without trying to control everything. Because I know for myself, I liked to be in control of everything in my life because it made me feel safe inside, but it was absolutely exhausting. So, really
Yeah.
learning to surrender and allow life just to unfold as it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
is comes with great relief.
It does. It's like those things where, I hear people and they're like, "Oh my God, this has happened," and I'm like, "Well, like let's look at it. Can you do anything to change the outcome of that thing that you're stressing about?" And they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Well, don't worry about it." I know that sounds very blasé and like, hippie like, but it's
No,
like
it's true.
if you can't have any impact on the outcome of that thing that you're worrying about, it's like, well, don't worry about it. Only worry about the things that are in your here and now and your capabilities of changing it. And I don't know if it's covered in that book, but that's something that I used to always kind of be like panicking and worrying about all sorts of stuff, and it was like, well, I can't do anything about it, so why am I stressing about it?
Exactly. It'll work out. If we just step out of our own way, everything will work out. There's a plan
Oh,
for us already.
yeah,
And
absolutely. The
it's a good
universe
plan.
provides. The universe provides exactly.
It's a
Nikki, do
better
you
plan
regret?
than we have for ourselves.
Well, exactly. I mean, my plan was rubbish to begin with.
Yeah.
It was like, live fast, die young, live for today and tomorrow I'll deal with. And it was like, nah, man, I've got such a good life now, and all I did was give up one thing, and it's insane. But little by little, I think we're getting through to people. But I'm not saying everyone needs to stop drinking. I'm just saying, like, just try and live life without it, because there's a lot of people that are still, they use it as a tool for not just coping with life, but just a tool for getting not getting through the day. But like I had a problem with just being on my own without any
Oh.
distractions. We're so
Mhm.
used to having our phones and scrolling and watching stuff and having something on in the background. To just be without any distractions is a really tough thing to do. And I was,
Mhm.
you know, I would hate just being on my own and doing my own thing. So I would just be
Me
drinking.
too.
You know, any time I had, when I was with my ex, if I had any free time, if they were out and gone somewhere, it was like, I'd be looking forward to it for days. Not because they were out of the house, you know, I loved them, but it was because I knew that I would just be able to drink without any judgment or bother, you
Yeah.
know. But it was like, it was a horrible time because I would drink to oblivion within the first couple of hours and then, you know, not remember any of the time, you know. Whereas now I'm like, I enjoy time on my own. Like I love my family around me, but when I have time on my own, it's like I like to
Oh,
just be without
it's
any
the best.
distractions, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I was
it's
the same when you said that, you know, I used to hate being on my own. I almost feared it.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
like sitting in stillness on my own, like what is going to come up, you know, what's going to come out of here. It was
Yeah,
awful. And now I crave it. I love
yeah.
being on my own.
Yeah,
It's
just to be able
bizarre.
to sit, read a book, or you
Yeah.
know, I mean, I do watch stuff, you know, but it's not like we don't have a TV. I think my problem was in the past, like when I moved into the cottage over here, when I first got sober, I had a TV, and it wasn't hooked up to the aerial, so I couldn't just turn it on and you know flick through the channels. I'd have to watch like Netflix or other streaming providers, but I eventually, because I was trying to write a book and I was trying to do other stuff with my recovery, and I eventually just stuck it on Facebook Marketplace. I was like, I don't want a TV in my living room, so I got rid of it. Like I've still got a laptop and I watch that, but yeah, it's the worst distraction ever to just come in
Yeah.
and put the TV on and then that's you for the night. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have that. We've got ways of watching films, but we don't just come in and put the telly on because
No,
it's
that's
such a
good.
huge kind of distraction. Nikki,
Hmm.
do you regret getting sober?
No, good gosh, no. Definitely not. I don't know
Yeah.
if I didn't get sober, I fear that I might not even be here. So I am very, very grateful to be here and be sober
Yeah.
and be alive, you know, just living my life, and feeling everything makes me feel alive, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I'm exactly the
definitely.
same. And like I always said to people, oh, if I hadn't quit drinking, I probably wouldn't be here. But actually, you know, five and a bit years ago, if I hadn't given up drinking, I don't think I'd be gone now, but I'd
Yeah.
be in a very, very horrible, unhealthy, probably on the streets because my family were ready to give up to me. Because that's the thing with alcohol, it's not a quick killer, you know, it does take its time and it's like this horrible, horrible, slow, just ridiculously horrible death that people can
Evil.
have with that.
It's evil.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I'm so glad that I'm, you know, living my best life and not partaking in boozing anymore. What advice would you give to anyone that was kind of, you know, early stages recovery or sober curious?
Wake up every single morning and put yourself first and pour love into yourself every day. Because if you love yourself, that love is going to overflow into every other area of your life. And
Yeah,
it'll do that automatically.
I love that, Nikki. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you and hearing your story. And you know, I really appreciate your sobriety and all that you're doing for women and your sober coaching as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for thinking of me and for inviting me.
Oh no, without a doubt, you've got an amazing account, and as I say, I'll put all your details in the description of the podcast. So hopefully, you know, people will be reaching out to you as well to get some of your nervous system recovery work as well. I love that, love that. I'm going to look into that as well. But thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Cheers, Nikki. Speak to you soon. Bye bye. Bye
Okay,
bye.
chat soon. Bye.